The Daily Code Snippet. Before discussing how to make buttons accessible, we need to talk about WAI-ARIA. WAI-ARIA stands for Web Accessibility Initiative Accessible Rich Internet Application Suite. WAI-ARIA helps dynamic content and user interface controls that are created with HTML, JavaScript, and other technologies become more accessible to people with disabilities. Without WAI-ARIA, some website functionality will not be available to some users with disabilities, especially those who rely on screen readers and those unable to use a mouse. When possible, we still want to use accessibility features built into HTML5. There is a website that tracks how well browsers are implementing the latest accessibility features of HTML5 here. http://www.html5accessibility.com. When HTML5 doesn't fully address accessibility, we need to use the framework provided by WAI-ARIA. WAI-ARIA is used to describe navigation and identify structures such as menus, primary versus secondary content, and banner information. This helps users identify and move region by region on a web page rather than having to press tab multiple times to get where they want to go on a page. WAI-ARIA is also used to map controls, live regions, and events to APIs, application programming interfaces, so it applies to buttons, drop-down lists, calendar functions, expandable menus, and more. Roles are used to identify the type of widget presented, such as a slider, menu, or progress bar. They can also be used to describe a structure, such as a heading, region, or table. The state of a widget can also be described, such as whether a checkbox is checked or not. We will go over some of the basics associated with WAI-ARIA, but to fully understand its features, please review the standards set out by the W3C at https://www.w3.org/WAI/standards-guidelines. And WAI-ARIA 1.1 are the current set of guidelines from 2017 and can be found at https://www.w3.org/tr/WAI-ARIA-1.1. WAI-ARIA 1.2 is currently under development. It is important to make your buttons and links accessible. When placing a link that will lead to your user being navigated away from the page, they need to know exactly what activating the link or button will do. So when creating your buttons and links, it is important to name them in a way that tells the user its function. So it is best to avoid labels like "click here," for example. It is also important to differentiate a link from a button. Buttons allow for user-triggered actions that can affect the front end or the back end of a website. Front-end actions affect a user's experience, while back-end actions are server-side functions. So a button action may request data, for example. Typically, we want to standardize the appearance of a button so that we enhance a user's recognition of it as a button. Links generally do not alter the function of a website in any way. While there are several WAI-ARIA attributes, several of which follow the syntax ARIA-blank, we will look at ARIA label and ARIA labeled by. The ARIA label attribute provides a label that is recognizable name that describes an object. Here is an example. Button opening tag. ARIA-label equals close in quotation marks. On click equals my dialog.close open parentheses, close parentheses in quotation marks. X button closing tag. We are using ARIA label in this example because the label text for the button is not visible on screen. In this case, the user only sees the letter X, which is understood to be close by sighted users. But the ARIA label describes the action that will occur and reads out that action to someone using a screen reader. Button opening tag. ARIA labeled by equals submit in quotation marks. Type equals submit in quotation marks. Form action equals URL in quotation marks. Submit button closing tag. In a case where the text is visible, then you would use the attribute ARIA labeled by instead. Presented by Designers Learn Code.